Jon Smith.
BBC Radio Gloucestershire.
Hi, John.
Hiya, how's it going?
Very well, thank you.
Good. Are you enjoying your day so far?
Having a lovely day. I've just come back from a swim at the Lido, so I'm feeling really refreshed.
Oh, lovely. Now, look, for those who haven't heard you on the show before, we've talked all things dialect. We've met some of your brilliant writers in residence at Lake 32 at the Cotswold Water Parks as well. But before we go any further, just in case there is a newbie tonight, Juliette, tell me a bit about Dialect, and then we'll come on to something I think which is really exciting. But let's go back to basics to start with.
So Dialect is a kind of writer development platform for writers, whether they're beginners or advanced writers across Gloucestershire and beyond, who are based in rural areas. And we provide mentoring and residencies and kind of courses and workshops, often in quite extreme environments. So we might provide a walking workshop or a swimming workshop that's connected to writing and creative writing in Gloucestershire.
Where did the idea come from to start with?
Gosh, well, the idea for Dialect came from, I'm from Gloucestershire, but I moved away for a really long time. And when I lived in other cities across the UK, like Manchester and Brighton and London, I had just such easy access to world-class writers all the time. And when I moved back to Gloucestershire a few years ago, I was just so struck with the fact that there wasn't really that much available to me as a writer. If I wanted to join a group or find a course, you know, I'd have to travel quite far to find a really good quality course. And it took me ages to find a local group that I could join to share my work with and get feedback and so on. So that's where Dialect came from, really, is to kind of, you know, fill a gap for writers in rural areas who don't have access to those kinds of networks.
And when people do come on board, whether it's for some mentoring or some of the other things you were just mentioning, do you get that sort of feedback? People saying, I'm so glad that you did start this because without it, I was feeling quite isolated.
Absolutely. And I hear that all the time. And people, I think, you know, I mean, we're still quite new. We've only really been going for about a year. And we've still got kind of so much growth to do. But people do say that to me all the time. This is really, really needed. And it's kind of helped to reduce isolation among the writers that have been involved in Dialect over the past year. And it's kind of slowly but surely building up a really lovely community. And it's a very warm community that's very sort of welcoming and inclusive. But it's also a place where you can grow and get better as a writer. So I think that's really valuable for people.
Absolutely. And, you know, when we talk about isolation, it's a word we've heard a lot in general conversation, isn't it, since March last year? So without what you're doing, many of these people, you know, you wouldn't have been able to just jump on a train and, you know, meet up with someone or have links with a writer or someone you aspire to be like, you know, even more so. So do you think what you've been doing has been even more valuable?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that kind of transition that we've all done to working online over the last year as well is something that we will not kind of stop doing once the kind of lockdown finally ends. I think that's been absolutely transformative for a lot of rural writers because it's given them the opportunity to participate in things they could never have participated in before, whether that's because they do live in a really isolated or remote place, or whether it's because they're, you know, a parent to young children, or, you know, all of the other demands we have on our time. That online space has enabled us to connect. So yeah, that's been sort of pretty instrumental for getting Dialect off the ground, and it's something that we'll carry on doing, as well as doing more face-to-face stuff as the world, you know, opens up again.
It's almost in a way, I suppose, you know, while that, of course, we won't talk about the negatives, but, you know, one of the positives is sort of leveled the playing field in that way then, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, that's true, actually. It very much has. Yeah, it's kind of opens up access, which I think is really exciting.
Now, you've talked about growth. You said we've got loads of things we want to do. And one of the things we're going to be talking about tonight, I think this is just so exciting. I've never heard of anything like it. And I didn't really think we'd say we're going to be talking about dirt on the show tonight, Juliette. But that's exactly what we're going to do, right?
Yeah, we are. We are indeed.
Go on. Tell me all about it.
Okay, so Dirt is a new plantable poetry press, which I've started in partnership with another poet called Alice Wilitts, who is based in the Fens. So we're kind of reaching across the country from one rural area to another to start this poetry press together under the banner of Dialect. And the idea of the press is that it brings poets together to write collaboratively. So we kind of do away with that idea of the single individual ego or, author of a work, a magnum opus, and bring people together to work collaboratively. And that work will be published it will be inspired by climate science. That's a really key component of the project. And it will be published on carbon neutral, or the publications will be carbon neutral, and the paper will be impregnated with seeds. So once you've read this poem and engaged with the content about the poem and perhaps some of the climate science that it's been inspired by, you can then go and plant your poem back in the earth, and poppies will grow from the place where you've planted it. So it's this kind of idea of ephemeral art and returning it to the earth, which is kind of in line with our whole idea of eco-poetry and using dirt as a platform to talk about the climate emergency.
It's just, all those different elements coming together. It's just remarkable. So go on, just explain a bit more about the paper and how that's going to work, Juliette.
Yeah, sure. So the paper is going to be impregnated with seeds, which means that obviously when you plant it in the ground, flowers will grow from the paper. So the seeds that we're going to use, for many different reasons, we've chosen poppies. So we're just sourcing that paper at the moment, and you'll be able to return the words to the earth once you've read them.
Has anything like this ever been done before?
There was an artist in the 1970s who did produce an artist book, which had seed paper in the book. But other than that, not really. I mean, there's been a few sort of similar projects, and I think there's quite a trend for sort of ephemeral art in visual art. There was an artist who impregnated ice blocks with seeds and set them afloat on rivers and off the kind of off beaches and so on. But it is a pretty fresh idea. And there's certainly nobody else currently in the kind of contemporary poetry scene or indie publishing that's doing anything like this. So, yeah, it's pretty niche.
Yeah, and that's, while really exciting at the cutting edge, you can't just sort of nip down to Staples or whatever and get a pack of this. So how have you gone about sourcing all of the stuff to make this, unique project happen? Yeah,
well, we're in the middle of doing all of that at the moment. So we've just crowdfunded the whole project. The crowdfunder closed about a week ago. And so we're kind of at the very beginning, really. We know that we can get this paper. We're just trying to find out, can we get it at the volume that we need it? And we're kind of in that R&D phase right now.
So, I guess working things out and bringing it all together. But the reaction, obviously, from the crowdfunder has been amazing, because people have said, yeah, this is something that we're really going to get behind. And you've smashed all the targets as well.
Yeah, it's been absolutely amazing. And right from the very start, we had, seriously, some of the best poets working in the UK today got behind the project and kind of put their name to it. And that just gave us such a fantastic boost. So, the likes of Fiona Benson, Pascal Petit, Marvin Thompson, Philip Gross. If you're into poetry, these are names that you will know. And they've sort of really helped us on our merry way, actually. So, yeah, we smashed our basic target within a couple of days of going live with our crowdfunder. And then we decided to kind of go for our stretch targets. And yeah, we just totally nailed it. It was absolutely amazing. The support for it has been really incredible. And, if I'm honest with you, Jon, sometimes the poetry community can be like a little bit, snooty, maybe some people might say, but the support and the joy and the kindness that people have shown us throughout this whole crowdfunding process has been so lovely, actually. And it's just been massively encouraging, and it just makes us feel like we're doing a good thing here.
Yeah, definitely. So what happens next then? R&D phase at the moment, bringing it together. And then have you got a timeline? Are you hoping, that first thing's going to be published on this amazing paper?
Yeah. So we're aiming for early autumn for that. So probably September time, something like that. And we don't have a fixed date at the moment. So Alice and I actually met for the first time to start the writing process last week in Coventry Cathedral. We chose as our venue to meet, kind of halfway between the Fens and the Cotswolds. And it's such a symbolic place as well. It's that place of regeneration and renewal and kind of forgiveness and looking to the future and so on. And so we're kind of in that phase now of doing the actual writing, and then we'll look at the kind of the publication process, the printing process, etc. is obviously going to come later in August. And then once we've produced our first publication in early autumn, fingers crossed, we'll then be in a position to start commissioning other Dirt publications and other collaborations.
Wow. So, and things are going to move quite quickly there, aren't they? I know when we talk about September and the autumn at the moment, it feels like eons away, but actually that's going to start coming around quite quickly now.
Yeah, but also that was one of the things that we really wanted to do. Some of the timelines in publishing can be just so excruciatingly slow. And we just thought we kind of want to ditch that model, and we want to do something that's a bit more nimble and flexible and responsive and that can get stuff done. So it's kind of important to us to be quite dynamic about it.
Well, it is fresh. It is exciting. I can't wait to see where it goes and what happens with it. So we'll have to catch up again, maybe in the early autumn when things are moving. And I can't wait to see some of those words on that paper as well, Juliette.
Oh, thanks, John.
And I know you've got lots of other exciting stuff coming up as well.
We have literally just last night finished our kind of last course of the spring summer, but we're already looking forward to the autumn. So we're taking the bold step of doing our first proper face-to-face courses at the subscription rooms in Stroud from September. Wow. So that's going to be happening. There's courses on poetic form. There's courses on writing long-form fiction with best-selling author Melanie Golding. There's a beginner's course as well. And then online, we've got some critique groups and small group mentoring and that kind of thing happening as well. So a really nice mix of online and face-to-face.
Brilliant. And I'm guessing the Dialect website be the best place to find out about Dirt and all of the things we've just been chatting about.
Yeah, it's all on there. Just go and have a look at dialect.org.uk.
Juliette, thanks for joining me.
Thanks, John.
Jon Smith.
BBC